Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about business. So last week I celebrated 10 years in business, which I'm super proud about. And this week I thought it'd be super fun to do a video on my top 10 tips when starting a business. Tip number one is define what it is that you do. Now, I know this sounds funny, but a lot of businesses that I speak to, I ask them very simple questions like, what do you do? And it takes them a really long time to actually answer this question. You want to get your elevator pitch down very quickly. So really understand what it is that you do as a business, what makes you unique and different, and also really understand what the problem you're solving in your business is and why people will care about it. Tip number two is brand. So I always start all my business ventures with brand right at the top of the list. I think it's so important. And yes, I run a creative communications agency and I'm probably a little bit biased, but I really think brand for your business is the heart and should sit at the heart of everything that you do. So really start to think about, who is my audience? Who are they? Like, what do they like? What don't they like? What sort of lives do they lead? Start thinking about how your business would speak, like what is the tone? I always start my businesses with designing the logo and then just a few key assets with that as well. So it might be beautiful imagery, it might be getting some beautiful copy created. I think it's important to invest in good branding. So if that means finding a freelancer or an agency that you can work in together to make sure that you get it right, because you can't really go back and change it. I mean, you can rebrand in a couple of years' time, but I think do it right and do it right the first time, and it will actually save you money in the long term. So really define your audience, think about your tone. How would your brand act? How does it feel? How does it make other people feel? That's all about brand. My gosh, I could do a whole video on just brand. So if you'd like me to do a separate video, leave a message or a comment below and I'd be happy to do that. Tip number three is content and community. I think this is really important. It doesn't really matter what sort of business you have these days, especially with social media and all the platforms available to us. You really need to think about the content that you will create that will work with your business. And you really have to have a selfless mindset when you go into this. So I'm not saying create content that is all about selling your products. I feel like you need to give your audience more. So think about the things that are important to them. Okay, for example, I've started Marco & Co, my luxury candle company, and I also know that a lot of the people that follow us on Marco & Co are horse enthusiasts, or they love the country lifestyle, but also I know that wellness, self-care, meditation, yoga, those activities are really actually important to my target demographic that would buy a luxury candle. So I make sure that when we create our content on our social media feeds, that we have a lot of content around self-care, wellness, meditation. So I'm not exactly selling to them all the time. I think it's important to give them content that's relevant to them. Think about your content like you were creating a magazine. If you were creating a magazine and it was just ad after ad after ad selling you something, you wouldn't read that magazine. You'd actually never pick it up. You read a magazine because of the beautiful images and also the beautiful articles that are within that magazine. So start to think about the content that you could create that will actually build a community before you even have a product. I have a lot of businesses come to my agency and ask us when is a good time to start their social media. And my answer is always like a year ago, because it does take a while to build up your social media following and create a platform. And I think it's really lovely to show the behind the scenes of you actually creating a product or a service before you've actually even launched something. So start to create your content well in advance before you launch, and that will help you build a loyal following and a tribe on social media platforms, so you can really start to understand who your consumer is and what's important to them. Tip number 4 is test and research your market and also your business idea. Now, I did this with my business, Marco & Co, my luxury candle company. I know I keep using it as an example, but I think it's good to use an example that I've actually done for myself. So I wasn't sure whether the candle company would actually resonate because it was a very niche thing that I was creating, candles for the equestrian community that was inspired by my horse. So what I did is I actually set up a website, just a landing page, one page website, which was very cost effective to do. And it was called a register your interest. So I used to speak about it on social media and I made myself a goal. I said, okay, if I get 300 people signing up to this newsletter and registering their interest, that they were interested to hear more about this business, then I think it's a viable idea and I'll go ahead and invest more money into creating the business. So test your market before you spend tens of thousands of dollars on, fancy websites and beautiful photography and great copywriting, all that sort of stuff. Test it first. Just get a very simple page up on the internet, or create a Facebook group or a Facebook page, and test whether the market actually wants the product that you want to create. And set yourself a goal. For me, it was 300 people, and that was relevant to how many followers I had on social media. For you, it might just be 20 people or 50 people, but set a goal. And if you crack that goal, then you know that you have a viable business idea and you can feel more secure in knowing that people will actually want what you're about to produce. Tip number 5 is understand the numbers. Now, I've got to say, I am not great with numbers. I'm good at spending money, I'm good at making money, but when it comes to numbers and Excel spreadsheets and profit and loss statements, I leave that to the experts. So whenever I have a business idea that I want to explore, I always sit down with my accountant or just someone that's really great with numbers. You might, your dad or your husband or your best friend might be a gun at numbers. Get them in, have a conversation, and actually do the numbers and see whether the business is actually viable or not. Creating a product was very interesting for me. Knowing how a manufacturer works is something that it was so foreign to me. And I'm so glad that I had my accountant with me to really understand the numbers so that I would have a budget that I had to work with. So I knew exactly how much money I was allowed to spend per candle when I was creating my candle company so that I didn't go over budget. And so I could actually make money at the end of the day as well. You're in business to make money. You're in business to produce a great lifestyle. You have to make sure the numbers work. It's not enough just to have a hobby that feels fun, but if that's what you want to do, sure. But most people are in business to create an income, and the numbers are so important. So if you're not great with numbers, that's all good, but my advice is bring in someone that really understands and can help you with this aspect of the business. Tip number 6 is to set up the business in the right way so you avoid any long-term issues. So I always think that once you've tested the theory, whether you think your business is viable, you've spoken to your accountant, numbers are looking good, you've had good registration on your sign up your interest page, then I like to bring in a lawyer or someone just to help me look over every little part of business registration. I like to work in with my accountant to look at GST, tax. Every country is different. And especially if you're building an online business as well, it's really important to understand those things. Make sure that you set up the business in the right way so that you don't have any major legal issues down the track. Tip number 7 is learn, and get used to this one. Learn to avoid the naysayers. Now, when you start a business, you will be very excited and you want to tell the world about your new idea. My advice is just be very careful about who you tell your business idea to, because there's a lot of people out there that do feel quite threatened or intimidated or a little bit jealous or a little bit envious about what you're about to embark on. And I don't know why, but a lot of people will try to bring you down. At least that was my experience when I started a business. And I was so excited to tell everyone about my business ideas. I really had to learn about the right people that I would allow into my tribe. And it was really important for me as well to get a mentor. And sometimes when you get a mentor, I found this as well. I had a mentor for a couple of years. and I grew out of my mentor. And this is a really great thing. You'll have so many mentors, and it's fine to outgrow your mentors. In fact, I think it's a really positive thing. You know, they'll teach you as much as they can, and then you'll move on and you'll find someone else that will be able to take you to that next level, and so forth. So really think about the people that you allow into your circle. Be very protective of the people that you allow into your circle. Sometimes it will be family members or really close friends that you have to distance yourself from because they're just not able to support you in the way that you need. And that's okay. That's part of the process. Sometimes it can be really painful on your business journey. And sometimes running your own business can be painfully lonely. But that's all part of it. So really pick the people that you have in your gang and who you have supporting you, and also try to meet other business owners as well. Surround yourself with other leaders in business or other people that have their own business, and this will really help and encourage you and inspire you to keep going. Tip number 8 is really do some soul searching and understand what your strengths are. I remember when I started my first business, my PR agency, I had to do everything because you're working on a shoestring budget. And really, I wish I invested in my first staff member a lot sooner. I ended up hiring someone 6 months in. I wish I started 2 months in, but you know, cash flow, right? It's difficult. But during those 6 months, I really took that time to understand what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were, and then I could hire accordingly. So I would just stick to my lane of the things that I was really good at, and then I'd hire out all the things that I wasn't great at. I'd find people that were really good at that. And usually when you're good at something, you enjoy it. So all the stuff that I wasn't very good at, I hated doing it and it felt like such a drag. So when I hired my first staff member, they loved everything that I didn't love, and we made a great team. And this should be your mindset when you're going off to hire more people down the track. Hire people that have different strengths than you so that you can build a really robust team and deliver the best results. Tip number 9 is around goal setting. I think it's really important to have goals, but here's my little tip. I used to set very achievable goals. So for example, I would say, right, I want to make 100,000 profit this year. And it was a fairly realistic goal. And yes, I would tick that off and I would achieve it. But now, for example, I would say, I want to actually make $1 million this year. And I know in my heart of hearts, it's probably not really going to happen. Maybe, you know, that's too extreme for this particular business. But I set the goal really, really high. And I know that all our team are pushing really hard to go for that big, crazy, hairy goal. It seems crazy, but we're doing as much as we can to try to achieve it. I promise you, if you set that very, very big, high, crazy goal, you will always achieve more than just setting a realistic goal. So I know that when I set these big goals, I always achieve 50% more than what I do if I was just to set a realistic goal. My final tip, tip number 10, is understand PR. Public relations. Now, I know I have a PR agency, so I am biased, but I truly do think that PR is the most powerful tool for any business. PR is all about the second sell, getting someone to talk about your business in a really credible way. Okay, for example, I'm going to show you the difference between marketing and PR because it's a very misunderstood industry. So if I was to sit here today and tell you, I am the best cook. Like, you have no idea. I am a really good chef. I get in the kitchen and I create magic. It's what I do. I'm a great chef. I'm marketing to you. I'm selling to you right now. But if I was to say to you, oh my gosh, my friend Elizabeth, she is the best cook. Like, when you go to her house, it's unbelievable the magic that she creates in her kitchen. She is such an incredible cook. Now, I'm PRing Elizabeth. Who are you going to believe more, me, or are you going to believe what I say about Elizabeth more? I'm thinking you're probably going to believe more what I say about somebody else other than myself because it's more credible, and this is a proven fact as well. I mean, the way we even value PR, so say you get an article in a newspaper and it's half a page, then we would say that that article is 3 times more likely to be read than an ad because you're more likely to read an article than an advertisement, right? So PR is so important. Really educate yourself on how to create PR for your business. You can do this a couple of ways. You can hire a PR agency, but I've got to say they are expensive. So if you're starting out, You can try to look for a freelance PR person. You can hire an agency, but it's expensive. Or you can go online. There's so many courses about how to create your own publicity or your own PR and educate yourself. Really understand, who am I speaking to, or who is my target market? What sort of media do they consume? So what sort of magazines do they read? What newspapers do they read? What TV shows do they watch? Really understand the media that they're consuming so you can try to get onto those platforms or onto those media outlets. And you do that through forming newsworthy content that you can give to those outlets. I mean, I could do another whole video on PR, but I think PR is so important when you're starting your business because you don't have huge budgets that you can spend on marketing or on advertisements. But if you can form a relationship with a local journalist or a local blogger or an influencer and really understand what's important to them, build up a good relationship and work on a story together, that can be so valuable for your small business. So really understand PR. If you've got any questions about PR, I'm obviously very passionate about it. Leave a comment below and maybe I can do more of a dedicated video on how to pitch a story to a journalist or what makes something newsworthy. If you'd like to know more about PR, I could literally talk about it all day, every day. I'm very passionate about it. Let me know and I'd love to create that video for you.